All right, we are live and recording. Welcome to a very exciting session that we are going to do relating to some of the high impact deals that we are seeing from the film, television, video, entertainment industry. We are Vitrina, which actually tracks deals and transactions in the entertainment sector on a daily basis. We actually try and look at not just the deals, the deal makers, the companies involved, but also the high impact quality of some of these deals and transactions to make a qualitative and quantitative change to the way the industry functions. My name is Atul. I'm the founder CEO of Vitrina.
And I'm Kunal. I lead growth and business development. All right.
Fantastic. All right, Kunal, we've got a very exciting set of deals today to actually discuss. We are going to be discussing 3 deals, correct?
That's right. Yeah. One is the digital afterlife that we're talking about, about Val Kilmer. This is very interesting. Then Atul, the AMC plus A plus E. This is another very exciting one, a very traditional arrangement, but we'll talk more about it. And then you have the Warner Music Group and Netflix.
All right, exciting. I mean, look, again, we've cherry picked these from multiple deals that have actually happened last week. Our key focus is to sort of do this show on a weekly basis, and then really try and highlight some of the most innovative and interesting deals that are happening that have a big impact or that are actually materially changing certain aspects of the industry. So with that, I'm really curious to discuss the first one, which is the Val Kilmer one. A little bit of background. Val Kilmer actually passed away on 1st of April 2025. And before he passed away, he was actually he'd signed an arrangement for a new movie. And then after he passed away, of course, there was a question mark about how this project was going to get completed. We now have an answer, a very, very interesting and innovative approach to having Val Kilmer come back, in a way, right, Kunal? So tell us a little bit about the project. What's the project about, and then we can dive deeper into exactly what the arrangement is.
Yeah, it's called As Deep as the Grave, right? The biggest innovation here, right, is just creating this very liquid IP asset, especially for him. We also dug a little bit through on these, SAG-AFTRA digital replica protocols. So how was this implemented, right? What did he sign in the contract that allowed the digital version of him to really finish the particular movie? But quite interesting that there is a protocol now in place, right? Especially within the SAG-AFTRA. And
And
Antul, you looked it up a little bit, right?
that's right. That's right. So essentially, you can actually have your digital avatar, right? To be loaned or to be sort of, featured in different kinds of content. And this actually is an arrangement where the guidelines now exist from SAG-AFTRA in terms of how that digital replica will typically be handled and monetized. So this is it's one of the first of its kinds under this particular 2026 arrangement. So what was also interesting was that both the artist or their estates can typically now have rights on that on their digital avatar to be sort of then featured into different sorts of content situations. So it actually sort of stipulates for the first time these arrangements and how they should come up. What is exciting about this particular deal is that this is the first one of its kind from this industrial arrangement that has been agreed upon by industry. So and the other aspect is that I think it might actually unleash a wave of new kinds of deals and transactions that we see. So let's actually unpack a little bit about how the deal came through. The deal makers in this case were First Line Films, along with the estate of Val Kilmer. So the essentially the children, Mercedes and Jack Kilmer, were part of the arrangement.
And the one thing that really came out well was the impact, right? Just look at the budget shift, right? And what we are observing, what's going to happen pretty soon is just reallocating all this capital from on-set logistics to neural rendering, data management, right? And now VFX houses that used to do a lot of special effects, now they are evolving into these very synthetic talent agencies. It's such a shift. We knew it was coming. There was a point in time that it will become mainstream. This
Yeah.
is the place where it's really breaking through.
That's right. That's right. And look, I mean, we've had deep fakes for a little bit now. We've had all sorts of digital avatars that we've actually sort of seen. A lot of applications coming in. There was a little bit of hesitation, and there was a little bit of this doubt on how that would be treated as far as artists were concerned, talent was concerned. But now, as we've sort of seen fairly structured approaches being taken. This deal is coming through in a pretty interesting fashion. And then the other aspect is that it also takes away now the whole risk that artists had about their voice, about their faces. This one actually is about the appearance for sure. As far as Val Kilmer's reel is concerned, and there is some risk mitigation that's actually happened as part of this arrangement within the industry.
Yeah, fascinating, right? Quite fascinating how it's moving quickly.
That's right.
Now,
All right. So with that, let's actually move to a highly commercial, deal altogether.
A plus C and AMC. Now, this is an IP first. We're talking like very traditional entertainment relationship, right? There's ad sales representation, right? For AMCs now, AMCs, El Gormore, right? Europa, all of that has been combined into AMC and right, as a full portfolio. And now they are opening up, right, their sort of ad sales representation and partnering it with A plus E.
That's right. That's right. And look, I mean, this is the shape of things to come. We actually saw, multiple such arrangements that have actually come just in the last few weeks, right? One of the notable ones was Tubi. Tubi in the US signed up with a Canadian company, right? And essentially it was the same. The one of the largest broadcasters in Canada, CBC, signed up with Tubi, and what this is doing is that Tubi's inventory for Canada doesn't require Tubi's Canadian team anymore. They will actually use CBC's ad sales team for a lot of these local ad sales, right? This one is kind of similar, where in this particular case, it's actually the IP licensing piece, which is kind of shared. So let's unpack a little bit about that.
So check out one very fascinating part here, right? There's no competition. So you have A plus E's own catalog, right? And then you have, AMC's. Now they're very complementary. And once you combine those, right, you got History Lifeline on one side, right? And then you have these entire AMC catalog. It looks like a mega bundle. Now, not only sort of allows AMC to really open up and not have ad sales group with some consolidation, but it also becomes a very powerful mega bundle, right, within the region. And now this mega bundle can compete with, right, likes of Televisa, Univision, right, WBD in that region. So again, a much larger advantage than just having the sales team represent.
So look, again, we track deals and transactions on a daily basis, Kunal, right? What are the motivations usually for companies to do such deals?
Correct.
Either it is the 1 + 1 = 11, exactly what you mentioned just now, which is that there is complementarity of the catalogs. That you're selling A and I'm selling B, and like A is not competing or cannibalizing with B. Together we can actually sort of almost make 1 + 1 = 11 of sorts, right? Either that's the motivation. The second motivation usually is an opportunity, right? I see an opportunity to go into your region, and then I collaborate with you because you already know your region really well. So now I can ride on your relationships, right? So that's the second type of model. That's the second motivation, where opportunistic arrangements typically come in that situation. Or the third one is margin pressures. hey, you've got your sales team, I've got my sales team, or you've got a distribution team, I've got my distribution team. Why don't we just align and save cost? Why? Because we are facing margin pressures within certain very tough markets or highly competitive markets. I think LATAM is, presents a bit of all three in my view, right? With a lot of companies that do such collaboration, it's a fragmented market, multiple countries, where you have to sell. You have a situation where in this particular case, like there is complementarity of the catalogs, and then the third one is margin pressures. I mean, look, truth be told, there are lots of entertainment companies, especially the mid-sized ones, which are facing fairly interesting or severe margin pressures. So there is a little bit of all three in this particular deal is what I think. But I don't know what.
No, absolutely. And then plus, a lot of consolidation is going on, right?
Yes.
So with WBD, Paramount, Skydance, right, that catalog would look insane,
Yeah.
right? Once you put it all together. Now imagine that one team, one group selling it all would be fairly challenging to compete with them. So now this also solves for some of that challenges that are coming up.
Right, that's right. So, okay, so an interesting one. We've seen, multiple such arrangements, and we'll keep bringing, the bigger ones and the more interesting arrangements. We'll actually keep highlighting in this show.
Yeah.
And then let's look at the last one for today's conversation. This is an interesting one, actually, Kunal. Netflix has invested heavily in documentary content. Right, they've got some very deep relationships with certain documentary filmmakers and content creators. Right. Um, the one I wanted to sort of highlight is box to box films, for sports, right? It almost seems as if they want to now replicate that for other genres. They've done that for history, historical, right? World War
Yeah.
One, World War Two, some of the historical war documentaries. Then they've done it for sports, the one that I was referencing, box to box. This one looks, very focused on music and music documentaries.
Yeah, going all in, yeah. And Warner Music Group again, massive, represents, some of the top artists right on the planet.
Correct.
And it looked like, Atul, a multi-year like first look deal, right? Which is music led. Now both elements, right? There are documentaries and then they'll also produce docu-series, right? So the docu-series like, Drive to Survive type, where you have episodic.
Look at the names that they are talking
Yeah.
about, right? Madonna, Fleetwood
Yeah.
Mac, Ed Sheeran. So these are fairly exciting documentaries. What is interesting is that this is kind of like a convergence of people who are actually fans of these artists, but also there is a different class of people who are really all focused on documentaries, biographies, right? And this kind of might actually sort of converge multiple different audiences, just to consume this kind of content.
Fascinating. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of competition obviously is coming through. So they are dipping their toes into the music genre. But also rebrands, right? Music labels as these, content generators, right? They're treating music as this very multidimensional cinematic IP.
Yeah.
Not the first time, obviously, it's been done before. But this obviously signals a much larger deal, multi-year deal.
That's right. So, and also let's look at, this is the good news is that this is going to be officially sanctioned. So some of these artists are very difficult to get, especially the IP relating to the footage that you want to use within the documentaries, the IP relating to their biographies and, telling their stories, right? So these are all officially sanctioned once, that's why Warner Music Group's involvement actually makes sense. And then the other aspect that caught my attention was also the deal makers and the stakeholders involved, right? So this is actually Adam Del Dio, who's actually sort of leading factual and documentaries portfolio within Netflix. So that's that makes sense. But on the other side, you've got Unigram, who's being sort of brought in for production, even as WMG comes in as the first look sort of deal maker.
Fascinating. Yeah. Very, very, three very diverse set of deals we picked up, right? You got music related, right? You have a very traditional sort of, arrangement with AMC and A plus E, right, on ad sales. And then this again, fascinating, something beginning to happen. You have the afterlife, digital afterlife, right, clause for Val Kilmer. So yeah.
So again, what Vitrina does is, we monitor deals and transactions, especially that involves business, commerce, commercial, high value deals and transactions. We monitor everything, small, medium, large. But what we want to do through this particular show is to really put the spotlight on very exciting deals which are innovative, which shows some sort of thought leadership or materially is changing the dynamics within the industry. So, then again next week for a new set of deals and transactions that we'll excitedly bring to all of you.
Thank you. See you
Thank
next
you
week.